Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Zoom at 8. My name is Julianne Peterson, and I am your host every Tuesday night. And it is nearly 7 years that we've been doing this. Can you believe that? How did we get here? My kids are come and gone. They're all out of the house, and I am an empty nester. So, listen, we are here to help you build a network to meet industry experts so that you can know what is happening in this world of commercial real estate. During the day, I am a commercial loan officer for Old Capital Lending, and we've been doing it for over 38 years. Myself, I've been in real estate for about 36 years, started in smaller transactions. Now I own and operate assets across the nation. So if you're looking at an asset and you're thinking, hey, I wonder how much either A, I should be paying, or B, what's the lender, your biggest partner, going to bring? That's when I can step in and help. Okay, so we're going to need your T12, your rent roll, those in Excel, as well as your underwriting. Send those over with an OM if it's available, and we will underwrite. It usually takes about 48 to 72 hours, and we will provide a quote and potentially questions. So questions like, hey, R&M seems high. Looks like the water or the utilities were really high in January. Can you get some more information? Because we might be able to adjust those numbers. So getting a little bit more insight. So once you have that quote, you can then be more educated on if you're paying too much, or maybe you're right there and can put in an LOI. People that put in LOIs without having a conversation with the lender are really putting themselves at risk. All right. So tonight we are excited to meet up with Todd Heitner. All right. And he's with the Apartment Investor Pro. We're going to get a whole presentation so you know where you might be able to get some help with AI, with some of your marketing. Todd's going to walk us through that. Couple things I want to make sure that you have on your calendar is the Old Capital Conference coming up in September, the 23rd and 24th. It is in Dallas. This will be our 10th year. So hopefully you're going to be in town, make it a 2-day trip. We'd love to have you. All right. So who's in the house tonight?
You said
Yes,
Dallas?
in Dallas.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Oldcapitalconference.com. I also put the information in the chat. I ask you also to put your information in the chat. So, during the week, you then can have conversations with each other, because it might be that your next sponsor, your next investor, your next capital raiser might be in the room. So let's hear from the people in the room. We've got Mark Gross. Mark, how are you? Let's hear from you. What do you do and how can you help us?
Well, one thing I do is I look forward to going to the Old Capital Conference. That's an awesome event. Been there multiple times, and looking forward to that. But I'm with CSSI. We're the largest cost segregation provider, and I'm Chicago area based. I work on projects all over the country. We're especially busy right now with return of 100% bonus depreciation. And one thing you might find interesting, Julianne, is that the Chicago area has the highest rent growth for multifamily in the country.
I know about this.
So
Cook County in particular, although a lot of it's going on in DuPage and the other counties. But yes,
absolutely, yeah.
um,
So anyway, so I'll put my information in the chat. If anybody like a free preliminary analysis, be happy to be of assistance. So thank you.
good, good, great. All right, thanks for joining us again. All right, Rhea Tobin is in the house. Rhea is in Florida. Rhea, what's going on? How are you? What do you do, and how can you help us?
All right. So before I give you my pitch, Julie, I just have to tell you, I just got back from a networking meeting and I was with your identical twin, including the glasses. I'm like, when the woman walked in, I was like, Julie.
No way.
Your twin, no lie. Except
Who
she had
is
short
that?
blonde hair and you've got longer hair. So.
Oh, I don't know her. Do I know her?
I don't think so. I
Okay.
didn't ask.
Okay.
Do you have a twin and lives in Southern Florida?
Maybe. She must be
And
beautiful.
of course. So anyway, everybody, I'm Rhea Tobin. I am an investor living here in lovely Southern Florida and currently doing deals in the Midwest, Kentucky, Texas, Oklahoma. Looking at deals, yeah, we're obviously where the numbers match or meet up. Always looking for potential partners. So if you're ever looking for a sponsor, I can help sponsor as well. Just reach out. I'll put my information in the chat.
Awesome. Good to see you. All right. Nitsan Mosery's in the house. Nitsan is also in Florida. Maybe he saw my gang. What do they call it? A gang?
Your doppelganger.
Doppelganger. Thank you. Thank you. Nitsan, let's hear from you. You are, it's hard to hear you. Can you guys hear him?
No.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you, Nitsan. Okay.
All right, how's that? Can you hear me now?
That's much better. Yes. Very
Okay,
good.
great. Bluetooth, man, technology, huh?
Excellent. Yes, there you go.
Right. Yeah. So I missed that networking meeting. So I didn't catch your doppelganger. But yeah, I am in Florida. I'm also a sponsor. I'm a coach. I have a multifamily school community. Brian is part of that community, and we've shifted. I used to be invested in the Sun Belt, Texas, all the way across to the Carolinas. Sold out of my entire portfolio of multifamily last couple of years because it was a seller's market. Now building it back up, and we're also in the Midwest in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Kansas City, and Northwest Arkansas. We have one property under contract in Tulsa. We have another one probably going under contract in Oklahoma City, and our goal is 5 billion AUM in 5 years. So we're looking to really ramp up things and make it happen. So always looking to partner with people and add value to you as much as possible. And I've yet to be at one of the Old Capital events, and I would love to come in September.
Let's do it, man. I'm excited. And maybe I'll get one of those loans that you're working on now. So I look forward to that.
Sounds good. And thank you for introducing me to Will and Gretchen. They're awesome people. They're doing phenomenal. I'm excited to be working with them.
Good. I'm so glad. They're good. They're now in your area, so that's exciting. All right, Vessi is in the house. Vessi is in Los Angeles. So Vessi, what are you doing? How can you help us here?
So great to see you, Julie. Love how we have all the coast to coast warm states well represented.
For sure.
But, yes, based in Los Angeles, I primarily work with family offices and their family enterprises at the board level, and very selectively invest in multifamily. So that's the asset class I like. So here to connect, learn, and actually, as of the beginning of this year, I'm now a best-selling author as well. So I can add that to my resume.
That is fantastic. Make sure you put your information in the chat and the name of your book. That would be great.
Absolutely. Yes, I will include that.
All right. Well, great to see you. Okay, let's get on with who's new in the room. So Brian, why don't you give us your 30-second elevator speech?
Oh, brother. Nissan's been telling me to practice this.
Yeah.
Well, all I can say is, we made investments going back about 22 years ago now. We enjoy a passive income lifestyle. Have really learned a lot through the years with respect to property management, with the legalities, with respect to different types and forms of financing, different entity formations. Just a pretty well-rounded background, and not sure how that translates into something that I can offer somebody, but I love to collaborate, and here I am.
That is all very good information that you've learned, and you're valuable to many people in the room to talk about your experiences and how you got those things done. We just went through a deal, and had our attorney fees were $80,000, and it was great to have conversations in Zoom at 8 to say, what are you paying when you get to this point? So
Yeah.
Brian, don't discount your what you've learned and sharing it with others. It's very valuable.
Yeah, and let me just add one other thing. In terms of value add, my entire career was in construction and dealing with contractors and subcontractors, engineers, architects. So when it comes to looking at a value add proposition, very adept at developing cost estimates, schedules, trying to differentiate between discretionary and non-discretionary expense of capital, and really where to kind of spend the money to get your best bang for your buck. So that would be my value add.
That's great. Brian, I know you said you live in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
I do hear an accent. Are you from the Midwest or always from Pennsylvania?
No, I'm originally from Indiana. I'm a Hoosier.
Indiana. Okay, yeah, I do hear your accent.
Yeah.
I'm from Chicago, so we have that same kind of twang.
Yeah, Northwest Indiana, Chicago,
Okay.
almost neighbors.
Maryville.
Yeah.
Maryville, there's a 7 or 8 unit building right now that's up for sale. I was just taking a look at it, so I don't know if you're buying over there, but I thought it was a pretty nice little place.
I don't know. I haven't had my nose in Lake County in a long, long time. Maryville is a very populous area, has grown extensively over the years.
Yep.
Anything and everything you could want is there in terms of
Yeah, it is.
amenities and shopping. And so, yeah.
So anybody that wants to buy in Maryville, let me know. Send me a text and I'll get you that information. All right. We have Adriana's in the house. Adriana, give us your 30-second elevator speech.
Hello, everyone from Austin, Texas. Lovely to be here with you, beautiful Julie. Yes, my partner and I, Paula Sversula, we raise money and we help syndicators raise money. That's what we do. That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
So we've been doing that for the past couple of years, enjoying it and loving it for sure.
Well, and Adriana and Paula have really tightened up their skill set for making sure that they can underwrite the people they're doing business with, right? We've seen so many people get involved with syndications and they might not necessarily have dug in as much as they should have with syndicators and operators. And so they're very tight with their what they allow and what they are looking for in those types of partners. So make sure if you're on the cutting edge of that or thinking about it, get with Adriana and Paula, and maybe they can share some of their insight. So
we go really deep.
Yes. All right, Oliver's in the house. Oliver, are you still there?
I am still there. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, give us your 30-second elevator speech.
It's going to be pretty short and sweet. I've done residential in the past, but right now I'm branching out into doing LOIs and wholesaling. And so, if I come up with a deal, I'll let you all know about it. That's about it. So, yeah.
And where are you finding properties?
I'm looking in the Sun Belt, anywhere from Texas through to Florida and North Carolina, South Carolina, stuff like that. So, yeah.
Okay, so if you guys are looking for properties, reach out to Oliver. He might be able to find you something. So, excellent. All right, Elle and Brad are in the house. Are you in the same room? Are you sitting next to each other? What is going on, the Phelps?
We are in the same vicinity. So we decided to do separate because we're in the same vicinity, but good to see you, Julie. Yeah. Got to see
Give us your-
Julie a little bit this past weekend and always enjoy her company. So knowledgeable in everything lending and multifamily. Yeah, Brad and we are Phelps Equity Partners, and we're doing the same thing that so many other people are doing, just looking for our next deal and, um, just living life.
Yeah. So, it's not an easy time. And if you've been in this for a while, it's almost a brand new game. Uh, Brand new investors, brand new opportunities. A lot of people are going smaller than what they did before, because the equity is difficult to find. So this is the time to be, getting ready. We're in the first inning of this next cycle, and it is the time to be building your relationships. You can't be like we were doing 5 years ago, just spewing out all of your information and expecting somebody to hand over money. It's a deeper conversation. It's getting to know people on a completely different level. So make sure that you're starting to do that if you haven't already um, put together your own packet about who you are. Start to work on that, and that's what I'm here tonight to talk to Brad Heitner. We're going to hear from Brad tonight, who has spent the last 20 years helping real estate investors improve their online presence with a deep focus on multifamily syndicators and capital raisers. After watching too many operators struggle with ineffective marketing, Todd shifted his focus to helping syndicators build authentic systems for attracting investors. Today, through Apartment Investor Pro, Todd teaches operators how to clarify their message, build credibility, and use AI. Whoa, the AI as a strategic tool for creating thoughtful content that strengthens investors' trust instead of flooding the internet with generic AI posts that don't get results. So tonight, I am excited to hear from Todd with Apartment Investor Pro. Apartment Investor Pro has been out for many years. I remember seeing it back 5, 6, 8 years ago when my clients were using them. And it's great to bring you back into the room, Todd, to hear what you're working on with this new cycle and new investors. So again, welcome to Zoom at 8. How are you tonight?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Julie. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Now, if everybody would do a great service to our speaker tonight, go up to the top and switch it over to speaker. So you don't have to watch each other. You give Todd all of your concentration, because Todd's going to talk to us about what he's working on and how he might be able to help you. Right now, again, we're building from the ground up, and I think some of these things that Todd is working on can be very, very helpful to you. So take it away, Todd.
All right, thank you. And I will say I have some slides prepared, but I do want this to be interactive. So anytime you guys, if you have a question or anything you want to say, share a personal experience related to it, just speak up, or raise your hand, whatever. Put it in the chat. I'll keep an eye on that too. So yeah. So let me share my screen and we'll get started with this. And it says why most syndicators are using AI wrong. I know not all of you are syndicators, and that's okay. This is actually most business owners are using AI wrong. So this really kind of applies across any industry. So we'll talk about what's not being done right, but then how to do it right. So hopefully we'll get something out of this. So just she already introduced me, so I won't spend much time on this, but there's a few things that we do. What we've been known for the longest is like websites and a marketing platform, CRM, all of that. But we also have, we help with attracting investors, by leveraging other people's platforms. And then the brand new thing is our AI investor content engine, which helps you train AI to speak in your voice, which is kind of what we're talking about tonight. So, all right, so let's get right into it. So before we dive into the AI, I just want to zoom out a little bit, because this is a mistake that happens at kind of a higher level sometimes, and it's related to what Julie was just saying. A lot of times people think marketing is something you turn on when you have a deal, and just send out, I have a deal available. And, we're all busy. We have other things we're focused on in our businesses, but by the time you have a deal, it's too late to start building the relationship you need to fund it. So, raising capital is not a transaction, it's a relationship. And so relationships don't get built when you need something. They get built over time through consistent communication, showing up, providing genuine value. So what that looks like is keeping in touch with people. It might be your newsletter, your emails, social posts, but it's not just marketing, it's relationship building at scale. That's how you stay top of mind so that when you do have the deal, the people that need to hear about it already trust you. And so I like to think of it like a bank account, where you make deposits and withdrawals. Every piece of valuable information that you share with somebody is making a deposit into that relationship. And then, when you need to ask for something, when you ask for them to do something, for example, investing, there's an account there. There's something to draw from. But if you never make those deposits, it's always asking. You're kind of overdrawn, and so people stop responding. So I like to think of, when your content, think of it like an 80-20 rule, where 80% of the time you're providing value, maybe 20% of the time is asking for something. So more value than more giving than taking. And then something that often gets overlooked is that people are at different stages. That your investors or whoever it is that you're serving, they're at different stages. They might be just learning about this. They don't really know if this is going to solve a problem that they have. Others believe it is going to solve a problem they have, but they're not sure if they're going to go with you yet. And then there's others that they're ready to go. And so people are at these different levels, different stages. And so you need to speak to them where they are currently. And that's, I think, a mistake a lot of people make, is they assume everybody is ready to invest and just send out the deals. But realizing that most people are not at that level, you need to speak to them where they're at. So helping them see how this will solve a problem is really where you want to start. Okay, and if you don't have these principles, then AI is not really going to help you that much. It's going to produce ineffective content faster, which is not really helping anybody. So we'll talk about some actual problems and with how most people use AI. Actually, let me just pause real quick. Does anybody have any questions about anything I've talked about so far? Haven't got into AI yet, but
No, I think the only thing I would say is I feel a little frustrated with the AI because I go on to LinkedIn, and I don't know if anybody else is experiencing this, but I feel like everybody, or not everybody, but a lot of people are using their AI assistants or their VAs to respond to people's as comments, and the comments just reiterate what was posted. And I get a lot of, I learn a lot in the comments. I like to dig in. I like to see who it is. It takes me to their post, their other posts. But when I see that, I'm completely turned off. My time is valuable, and I find it very frustrating. And I've taken myself a little bit further off of those comments or being trying to connect with these people. And Vessi feels the same way. I'm sure there's other people in the room that have these same complaints. Yet I got to tell you, Todd, I go to the meetups and they're like, "Yes, this is so great. I'm doing this and I'm getting in front of so many people." And I think somebody sold them maybe on this idea, and I don't know how it's helping them, but it's really frustrating to be around it. So,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, AI gets overused, and it's before you ask, how can I use this tool or what can I do with this? You need to ask why. Like, why am I using this tool, and what is it going to accomplish, rather than just jumping in and start doing stuff with it. So, but yeah, I agree. A lot of it, and that kind of stuff like undermines trust. Like, what is that really accomplishing for you? Like, it's just turning people away, so kind of defeating the purpose. So yeah. And I'd be curious to hear, like, in the chat too, as we go, of maybe how you're using AI already, or what you've tried that maybe hasn't worked, but or if you have had success with it, feel free to share that too, what has worked for you. But I'll just cover a few ways that either people are using AI wrong, or it's just the way AI works that maybe you don't realize. I think the first thing is that AI is a yes man. It's designed to be agreeable. It's going to tell you that every idea you have is great, even if it's not. I think of it kind of like those singing competitions where somebody goes on and they're convinced that they're a star because their mom told them their whole life that they were a great singer, but that wasn't really helping. And so AI kind of does that too. It tells you that, like, it's way too affirming. It tells you that everything you say is gold, and contrary to what your mom and AI say, maybe not every idea is at genius level. And so you can actually challenge that, though. You can build in, into your instructions for that you want AI to challenge your assumptions, point out flaws, and not just validate everything you're saying, because it's honestly not always helpful. I'm just looking at the chat here too. I see that. You use chat and Claude, but don't ask the right questions. Yeah, that's for sure. I think we'll get some, hopefully have some valuable things that you'll get today. Awesome. All right. The next point is skipping the thinking. AI can help develop strategy if you give it the right prompts, but too many people just assume that AI has the strategy when it's maybe counting on you to provide that. So if you give it vague instructions, you're going to get messy output. If you're creating content, it can make a huge difference if you first put some thought into it, make your own outline, and then, give that to AI. Just even a few bullet points that outline what you want to accomplish can transform the quality of the output. Another mistake, or just really this is kind of how AI works, is that it creates mediocre content by default. And AI basically takes the average of everything on the internet, and average is mediocre. Without explicit quality standards, you're going to get content that sounds like AI wrote it. So you do need to be explicit with it. And I'll share a couple tips, but basically in your instructions, you might tell it something like, write like an elite financial copywriter, or a world-class whatever. That little phrase lets it know you don't want mediocre, you don't want average, you want a higher standard. So that we'll talk about that a little bit more in a little bit. Another mistake is that AI doesn't know you, and so what a lot of people do is just go and start a generic chat over and over. They're starting from scratch, re-explaining their business, their voice, their standards. We'll talk about a solution for that a little bit later too. And another mistake is asking the wrong question, which but this is kind of more at a higher level of instead of asking what can AI do, ask what am I already doing that AI could help with, or what should I be doing that I haven't had time for. I think the best place to start is looking at your to-do list for any projects you have that that you're struggling with, that maybe you're having a hard time getting to. And then the final one is not reviewing the output. So I would say that AI doesn't produce final versions, but it creates a draft. You should always review it, revise it, fact check anything that it puts in there. AI can be very confident about what it says, but it may be just completely wrong or making something up. So always put you always give the final judgment on it. Let me just pause for a second. Any questions or any comments or anything on this?
I find it interesting that Nitsan says he has an AI CEO and executive assistant. Now, that's amazing. I'm going to need to learn more about that. It's training these, and having faith that they're going to do it the right way. I'd just be curious, and maybe Todd, you have a method to which someone else could create a CEO and executive assistant as well.
Yeah, and that's kind of taking it to another level. Well, kind of what we'll look at today is probably a more approachable starting point, but then as you get that under your belt, I think that's kind of the next level. And one of the things I'm going to show today is probably the way you would do that. So yeah, great. So
yeah, let's keep going.
All right. So just another thing to keep in mind that, layered on top of all the challenges we just said, we're in a trust recession. People are more skeptical than ever. If you're pushing out AI written content that sounds like AI, that's kind of eroding the trust even more. So it just shows you're not putting the effort in. And then I think of it kind of like GPS. If you're driving and you get lost, stomping on the gas is not going to help. It might take you farther from where you want to go. And that's kind of what happens with AI. A lot of times it's kind of like the gas pedal. It helps you go faster, but you need to have the strategy first. So your strategy is the GPS. And without that, you're just kind of going faster in the wrong direction. So get the strategy first, then figure out where you're going, and then use AI to help you get there faster. So we'll talk about how we can use it more effectively. So one thing, if you haven't already, is to create a custom AI assistant that is trained on your business. So what a lot of people do is just go to ChatGPT and just start a new chat and start talking and like telling it all this stuff. But every time you've got to tell it everything about your business. It does remember certain things. It has memory built in, but honestly, I suggest turning that off because it chooses what to remember, and you want to have more control over that. So if you create a custom AI assistant, you are training it. It knows your business, knows your audience, knows your values, whatever training you give it, it has. And the output is going to sound more like you because of the training you've given it. Also, you can kind of tell it the quality standards at that level, and you don't have to keep telling it that over and over again. So oh yeah, there we go. So all of like the major AI platforms have this functionality built in. They just call it different things. So ChatGPT calls them custom GPTs. Google Gemini calls them gems. Claude calls them projects. It's the same concept, it's just a different name. Let me just ask in the chat, how many of you have built one of those before? Or you can raise your hand. Oh, I see some hands. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. All right. And so I will show how to do that in just a moment. So I will say too that with the different tools, they each have their different strengths and weaknesses. So ChatGPT is kind of like a general all-around AI. Like you can use it for a lot of different things, and is the one that most people know. Google Gemini. The nice thing about it is it's built into Google Workspace, so it's good for certain things, certain types of projects. What I really like it for the most is working with files that are in your Google Drive account. Like I've had videos in there, and I've had it like it will. You can say like, in this video, did I mention this thing? And it will analyze the video, and it can be like a 30-minute video, and it will tell you whether a certain thing was mentioned in that, which is really can save a lot of time when you're trying to find a specific thing. But when it comes to content, I really strongly suggest Claude. I found it produces the best results because it's better at following style instructions, like speaking in your voice, imitating your style. Either following the instructions or imitating your style. And of course your voice matters, so people want to develop a relationship with you, not a generic AI persona. So I know we shared this in our program, like the AI program that we have, and with somebody who had been using ChatGPT, and he tried it out, and he gave them both the same prompt and the same information, and he said the difference was night and day. So he just immediately signed up for a year of Claude because it was like, he knew he wasn't going back. So the paid plan for most of these is around $20 a month, and it's definitely worth every dollar. But you can't create the custom tools unless you have the paid version. So just a little thing to realize there. And I will show in just a couple.
Can I
go
jump
ahead.
in here?
Yeah,
So
sure.
in real estate, and we're underwriting deals, and we're trying to figure out how much should I be paying with my T12 and rent roll, and here's my underwriting. Is there one here of these three that you would recommend using, number one? And if everybody is using Claude and they're putting in T12's rent rolls in their underwriting, and Claude now knows, Parkway at the stop sign is recommended to be at 15 million. What says that there's going to be, how are you going to get in best and final when everybody's used Claude to ask the same questions with the same information?
Yeah, that's a good question. The one, as far as like what tool I would use, I probably would use what I'm about to show, which is a certain thing that Claude has, something new that Claude can do. I'll show that in just a moment. But as for, yeah, that's a good question about like, so you're saying like if everybody's using the same tool, everybody's going to get the same answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a potential. I think some of it though too might also deal with your. I think if everybody has different training that they're giving to that and the different criteria they're looking at, that could possibly give you different answers too. If you put in your criteria, and you might have a different way of processing, I guess, the numbers than somebody else. If you're just going with just a generic prompt, then probably everybody would get the same. But if you're training it and have specific things you're looking for, like it might that might help with that too, to get it to dial it in a little bit more.
True.
Yeah, good question. So I will just mention briefly the thing I was talking about with Claude. There's something new that you can do with it, which if you've only worked with it in your browser, in your web browser, like, and you've chatted with it, that's one thing, and that's great. But there is something new called Co-work, and this is a little bit of a tangent. We will come back to creating your custom AI assistant in just a moment, but this is. Let me just ask: is anybody familiar with this? Has anybody used Claude Co-work? I will just say that my experience with is, that feeling you got when you first used ChatGPT and you're like, whoa, this is crazy. This changes everything. This is how I felt all over again when I tried Claude Co-work. So Claude Co-work, there's a desktop app that you have to install on your computer. It doesn't work in your web browser. So Co-work lets AI actually do work on your computer. It's not just a chat. It will actually open files. It will connect to different tools that you're using. It will get things done. Once I realized, what it can do, I feel like we just hired a really competent team member. And as for what it can do, it can connect to your Gmail, Google Drive, Canva, like all kinds of different stuff. You can tell it like, hey, go to Canva and create a social media post for me that has this on it. It will create Excel spreadsheets. It will create PowerPoint presentations. It reads, writes, and organizes files. It can open up your web browser and do stuff online. But it works basically like, for the most part, like a chat. You just tell it what you want it to do. You can even schedule it to run at specific times. For example, like every Monday morning at this time, do research on whatever you want and put together a report that summarizes what you found. Just as an example of what it can do, it created the PowerPoint presentation that I'm using today. I created the content myself. I planned that out and had my outline, but I gave it to Claude and told it to create a PowerPoint presentation, and it created what you see today, and which, to be honest, is probably looks better than what I would have created. So, and in a fraction of the time. So, and then one of the most powerful features is it has something called skills, which is just a saved process. It's like a workflow, and that's going to follow every time. So I think of it like an SOP, like a standard operating procedure that you follow in your business, step-by-step thing, like a multi-step process. It will follow that process, and you can use Claude Co-work to create the skill, and then that it will then use over and over again. Just as a couple simple examples, like a newsletter skill where you give it some information and it creates the full draft and saves it to your Google Drive, or a deal summary skill where you give it an address, it does the research in the market, puts together a summary. It could put together a pitch deck for you. And if you're using Claude, like if you have the paid account, which is like $20 a month, you don't have to pay anything extra for Co-work. So anyway, it is an app you install on your computer, and then it can do all this other stuff. I will say it's probably a little more technical in how it works. If it helps if you're a little more tech savvy. That might change in time, I'm not sure, but has a little bit more learning curve, but it is super powerful. So I would encourage you, once you kind of get the more basic stuff, to look into this if you haven't yet. But again, the place to start is not really what all can this do, but what's currently on your to-do list. anything that's a manual process that you have to do regularly would be the place to start. Start talking to cowork, tell it what you're trying to do or what you need to do, and see how it can help. So any questions on that? I wasn't going to go any deeper on that, but if you have questions, I would be glad to answer if I can.
So how would that be different than just the regular Claude? So what is different? Am I asking it different questions? How would I see that differently? That experience?
Yeah, it's the capabilities that it has, like, because the normal Claude is just a chat and it's basically relaying information back and forth, but it's not going to open up PowerPoint and it's not going to create a PowerPoint presentation for you typically. I guess it does have some new functionalities where it can do some of that, but this, like, for example, like I told it to create a PowerPoint and like it went through and did it, but then I saw it go through a series of steps. Like it went back and reviewed it and said, okay, on this slide, this needs to be adjusted. This column's too wide. Like it does a multi-step process and then it will save files somewhere on your computer. I've had it. One time I gave it a file and it said, I can't seem to access this thing you're giving me. Want me to search on Google Drive for you? And I said yes, and it found it. So it's doing actual work, I guess, is the thing. I told it earlier to, I wanted to create something for Facebook, and it just went to Canva and created it's like several versions of this image that I needed, and gave me the different versions, asked me which one I like best. So, and that's just kind of scratching the surface, but it can connect to all different services and do stuff. It can go into your Gmail and write a draft for an email. So, yeah.
Okay.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is only through Claude. ChatGPT doesn't have it yet?
Not that I'm aware of. I'd be
Okay.
surprised if they don't create something. They're kind of staying neck to neck, but so far I haven't seen this.
Next question. So I already have my ChatGPT trained to myself. What would be the easiest way to, for example, transfer everything to Claude? Because you have to train that bot, right? So I don't want to retrain it. Is there a way that I can just basically some sort transfer those files, or I don't know. I think I heard something like it, but I'm not so sure how to do it.
Yeah, because which we'll kind of look at training those in a minute for anybody that isn't familiar with that. But basically, your training comes down to mostly like you have instructions in the little box there that you tell it what you want it to do and everything. And then you have files that you've uploaded that provide additional training. Like you can just copy and paste your instructions over into Claude, as well as upload those documents, and then it's pretty much exactly the same.
Adriana, I'd almost guess, and I'm just throwing something out there, is that if you wanted to tell your existing AI, what have I trained you so far, right? What have I and summarize what that is,
and then bring it to Claude
and give it to Claude. Yeah, and
okay.
That's my suggestion. But that's just something to throw out.
That's a good one, because I've been training it for a year, so it's got great information inside it. So I don't want to lose that, because it takes time to train them.
Yeah,
it does take time, and as it reads your email, like for example with Gemini, it's reading my emails and it knows I like this type of coffee. I've gone on this cruise, all these different things. I've got 2 kids, all that, right? It's a lot of information, so it's nice to be able to transfer it when
correct.
Possible.
I don't want to start from scratch.
Great suggestion.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, keep going, Todd.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Yeah, so we'll kind of talk about setting up your custom AI assistant if you haven't done that yet. Even if you already have it, maybe you'll get some little tips here too. So the first thing is you have to have a paid plan to do it, which mostly around like $20 a month. To create your assistant, like if you're using ChatGPT, to go to Explore GPTs and then click Create. Or if you're using Claude, you go to Projects and New Project. And if you're using Gemini, you go to Gems and New Gem. So this is where you go to actually create the new thing. This is the first step. Then you write instructions. So there's like a text box where you just type in what you want it to do. You're kind of telling it what its job is basically here. And so this is really one of the most important steps. You tell it who you are, who you serve, your style, your quality standards, all of those things. And so you want to spend time on that. And then you can also upload training documents. So a business overview, if you have any samples of work you've written that are in your voice, examples of your best content. And you do need to tell it what these documents are. You don't really want it to assume what they are. So at the top of each document, you can tell it how to use that, or in the instruction, you can say, I've uploaded these documents. Here's what this one's for and this one, just so it knows what it's supposed to do with that. So that's the basic steps of, creating this. And any questions here before we move on?
Nope, keep going.
Got it? Okay, cool. And then once you have that created, instead of just going up here, like this is in ChatGPT, instead of clicking on new chat, this is number one, you would find your custom AI writer that you've created, or your AI assistant. You'd click on that and then start a new chat. Kind of same with Gemini. Instead of clicking new chat, you would click on gems, and then, under gems, you would have yours listed here that you've created. And Claude, you would go, instead of new chat, you would go to projects and then find the project that you created and then do that. So a common question is, with this is, what do I actually put into the training? So I'll show you the basic framework. So one is to have a master document that has kind of a comprehensive document about your company, everything that needs to know who you are, what you invest in, what your track record is, who your ideal investor is, your communication style, things you want to avoid. And this is really the foundation. And the quality of everything else is going to be limited by the quality of this document. So you want to spend some time on it. That's something in our program, we help you build that. We use AI to help you build it, but it's something you want to, you might have some of the stuff already. Like if you have a mission statement, core values, and anything about your business that it should know, you want to put that in there. And like I said, you can have examples of things you've written that you like, that you wanted to copy that style. That's also very helpful for it to have. And then when it comes to like creating your content, what do you start with? Where do you start with? You probably have a lot of content you want to create. One suggestion is to start with your newsletter and putting a lot of effort into that, creating a really great newsletter email, make it really valuable and something that an investor at any awareness stage would actually want to read. And then what you can do is repurpose that. So you can take that newsletter and then repurpose it as social media content. You can get a lot of times, several posts for social media out of a good newsletter. And that way you're not duplicating all your effort, you're not creating a bunch of separate things, but getting the most from your time. Here's some tips for prompting language that gets better results. So the first thing is setting the quality standard. So telling AI to act as an elite financial copywriter or to write at a world-class level consistently produces better output than just telling it what you want. Words like elite, world-class, top tier, it just kind of lets it know that you don't want average, that should be better than average. And if you put that in your instructions for your AI assistant, it'll be kind of baked into everything. Also, you can demand pushback. So you can tell it, before you write anything, identify any flaws or weak points in my approach. That way it's not going to tell you that everything is, a genius idea when maybe it's not. You can tell it not to use cliches, especially I find that it starts saying the same things over and over, and you notice it across several pieces of content, it keeps saying this stuff. Add that to your training. Say, don't do this. And then a really important one that I really like a lot is you give it some instructions and then you say, before you start, do you have any questions for me? Because it's not going to ask them. It's going to have things it doesn't know, but it's not going to ask them. So it's going to make a lot of assumptions and a lot of them are going to be wrong. But if you tell it this one thing, it will ask you some questions, and you'd be amazed the difference this will make in the quality of output you get. So on the right, just some recommended frequency, like your newsletter. Try to do, I suggest having a weekly newsletter and then social media posts several times a week, coming from that newsletter content.
I do have some questions on that, Todd.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you finding any information or feedback from the social media posts that are created that are like, I don't know if it's like a PowerPoint, and you kind of scroll through it as a PowerPoint on social media? I feel irritated by it. I don't know if you have any feedback on that.
I kind of find the same. I see a lot of people doing that, and it's like I think it's they're trying to get engagement, which I guess there's some benefit from that perspective. Like social media sees that you're engaging with it, you're tapping on it, but I also have to think about the end user and like their experience. Like you're saying, like if you find it annoying, like I find it annoying, like
Yeah.
probably a lot of people do, especially when it's like, you're going through like 20 clicks. So like, I just tell me the information.
Yeah.
So I think you have to keep that in mind, like balance, what works on the platform, but also balance that with the people and what they want and how it's going to be received. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. So these are just a few ideas for ways you might use your AI assistant, because it's not, yes, it'll help with your content plan and things like that, but it can also do a lot of other things. You can use it, if you have leads that you need to follow up with, it already knows your business. So you can tell it, I have this person that I need to follow up with. Here's kind of where they're at. Here's, the situation. Help me write a message for them. You can answer common questions. It can help it can help you do market research, analyze deals. And just a few tips over here on the right. You can switch between your assistants. So let's say, for example, you're using ChatGPT and you have one that's trained on a certain part of your business. Let's say it's trained on writing your newsletter, and now we have a different one that's trained on writing social media posts. Well, you can just, in that chat with your custom AI assistant, the one for the newsletter, you can just type the @ symbol, like tag it, basically the other one, the for social media post, and just pulls it into that chat. And now it has access to all of that information that the other assistant had. So you can switch. Basically, they hand off between each other. And the same thing you can do that with Claude as well. There's a little drop down. You can just switch which project it's associated with, and it will instantly, in that chat, have access to all of that information in that project, that all that training that's there. So you can have it do a different type of task.
Okay, so I have a question. I know Adriana's
Yeah.
kind of scratching her head too on this. So are
Mhm.
you saying you need to have several different bots or assistants for certain things? Like I'm just going into ChatGPT and saying, run me a comp set of all of the properties in Dallas that have closed over the last 6 months. Or I'm looking at this property, I want to see when is the maturity date. Would I use a different one to say, hey, can you write me my newsletter? Is that like, are they doing two different tasks? Therefore, I've got
Yeah.
two different assistants?
I would suggest that. Yeah, I would suggest
Huh.
having each one train on a certain job. Like you can have like that, I suggested having like a master document that tells all the information about your business. That can be like a basic training for all of them, but then each one of them has a specific job that they do that they're specialized in. You can combine stuff in, but you typically are going to get better results if you have them specialize, and then you can kind of, within a certain conversation, you can pass it off from one to the other and have their set of skills be pulled in to do that.
Okay, so if I'm doing social media, that's going to be a different person than who's going to be writing a PowerPoint presentation, who's going to be a different person who's going to be searching the internet for comps, right?
I would
Wow.
suggest it. Like you might have
Okay.
one that does all of your content potentially, and it's all, maybe if you have training for all these different types of content, maybe group that together. But I wouldn't mix that with a completely different kind of job, that's like pulling the comps and things like that, or doing market research or something like that. I would separate them out and have them typically get the best results when it has one specific, clearly defined role that it does. So like for the content writer, I would, part of it, like the first line would be, you are, a world-class content creator, or, copywriter or something like that. And that's its job. Like that's its role, and all the training is kind of that it has is kind of supporting that job.
You know what would be really cool is if somebody could give me like the verbiage to say or to write. Like that would be such a key for people's businesses. And you just
Yeah.
put in, the specifics about your company, because I feel like
Right.
there's so many things that I'm not saying that I'm leaving out that I don't know. And someone's like, "Oh, you should have
Yeah.
said that." Oh, okay. That would have been helpful. So if there
Yeah,
was
for sure.
something like that. All right, Adriana, you got a question.
Yes. So you mean to say that maybe I should train ChatGPT to do my newsletters, for example, and my content, correct? And then I can get Claude to train under underwriting. And I should not, and correct me if I'm wrong, should not train GPT to do both. Is that what you're saying?
No, it doesn't. Not the tool. It's just a custom, a custom trained AI assistant
Assistant.
in one of those
Yeah.
tools. Yeah,
An
you can use.
agent, I think, is what you're calling
Yeah,
them.
yeah, and so you might use Claude to do all of it, but you have a different, like Nissan says, like a bot. You think of each one of them has specific training, is doing one specific job, but it's all within the same tool. Like you could do it all in ChatGPT or all in
Ah,
Claude.
Okay.
Yeah,
I got
yeah, great question.
it. Okay. But I think I heard that it's also good to have two different ones. I don't know if it's true or not, but
Mm.
I don't
I
know.
think there's different applications that are better. Like Perplexity is different than Chat, that's different than or Gemini, and different than Claude. So finding what is good about each one would be helpful. And the more you listen to Todd or some other people that are doing this, the more you're going to get comfortable with what is offered and what their specialty is. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's true. Yeah. And I do think Claude for content, like your newsletter and that kind of stuff I found to be, very far superior to ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT for a lot of stuff, but not for our content. So,
Todd, have you ever? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Do you suggest or have you heard of a tool that is better if you're trying to underwrite?
I don't know for sure on that. I just saw that somebody just a few minutes ago, somebody released a tool that's built in Claude Cowork that does like a deal analysis.
Okay.
So I think that I would, if I was doing it, I probably would use Claude Cowork and I would build a skill, what they call a skill, which is like a multi-step process where it first does the research and compiles that and then, runs the numbers and then puts together like a report or something like that based on the criteria that you give it. Basically,
Correct.
anything that you have a process for already that you're doing, you can create a skill in Claude Cowork to do. And
I think
yeah.
Claude's better because it takes Excel better than Chat. If you're
Oh, okay.
say that again.
if you're doing underwriting Excel, Claude's much better to handle that.
Yeah, because you want to upload the rent rolls.
Yes, exactly.
Correct. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great to know.
All right, Todd, we got about 10 more minutes and we got to wrap it up.
All right. I only had one more slide, and this is actually,
okay.
It's funny because what you were just saying, Julie, Jen, was, if somebody could give you all of this training for your AI, and that's basically kind of what we built. We built it's a training program, but it also gives you stuff to plug into your AI assistant that has all of that training. So you can copy and paste it in, it's like, okay, here's my business, here's what I do, but then here's a training document for, writing newsletters. Here's one for creating new social media posts. Here's one for creating a lead magnet or a landing page. So it's got all of that training. It's all, it is geared toward syndication. So if you're doing something a little different, you might have to tweak some of the wording in that, but it is, that's kind of what we've built it to do. Just kind of guide you through that process and give you a head start with that. So if that's something interesting, I'm not trying to like sell you on it, but it's apartmentinvestorpro.com/AI is where that's available. So
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I put that in the chat, everybody. So make sure that you're taking the chat after the meeting so that you would just, how would we access that? Just put it in the browser and it'll have the training to build that?
So it's a course, that guides you through like with training videos, but also there's like links to documents you can just save and upload into your own AI, or things you can copy and paste, like the text that you can just copy and paste into it.
Okay.
Yeah, but it'll guide you through the steps for that.
Wonderful.
See, Jenny has a question.
Jenny.
Hey there. had a heck of a time trying to get the cowork to download on my computer, which was like 6, 7 years old. And I heard, I don't know officially if that was the problem. Is it true that it won't download on older computers, or did I just, I tried to find the execute file and execute and all that, but
Hmm. Is it is it like a Windows based, and is it like
yeah,
Windows 10 or is it
yeah,
10 or 11?
10 is the
Ah,
max I could do on my
oh
computer.
yeah, that could be the problem. Yeah, I think it because it's like Windows 11 kind of goes more to more of an app based thing. Like more stuff runs in apps, and so it is an app that runs, and so that might be the problem with that. It might
Well,
just not be.
I needed a new computer anyway, so
Yeah, yeah,
all
it's a
right.
good time to get it.
I hope it was a good reason.
Yeah.
All right, so make sure you guys understand this is what Todd is he's providing if you guys are interested in a training program of how to implement AI into your business, into your web presence, into your internet presence for your putting together your decks, putting together PowerPoint presentations. This is the AI assistant that he can help put he'll train you to do this for your business. So you can look that up. There is information about it. It is looks like it's $9.97, a one-time charge, and you've got 1 year of access, and it's self-paced training. So that's great. You don't have to show up on every Thursday night when you've got pickleball tournament, Ginny. You could do this on your own time. So there aren't a lot of people that are doing AI, or at least, for me, I need baby steps. I'm not I'm not there yet, and I'm sure it's coming. When we had the internet, I swear, we look back and, just putting in an address was so, you know, so new for all of us. Now we just, pull up a browser and we put it in there. It's no big deal. That's kind of where we're at right now with AI. It's like we're going to look back in 5 years and go, "Oh my gosh, we were just all kindergartners, and we're going to be in 8th grade here shortly, learning from people like Todd's company and how you can, um, you know, better your business, create content, and really be able to shorten some of these deadlines that, like for me, I pay somebody $300 to $400 to do my content. And that's a lot of money. I could, if I got trained or I train my I bet it could get done without me having to pay. Um, I used to have a phone that had a bag, and I put it over my shoulder and talk on the big phone, right? That was $1,400 a month to use a cell phone. So here we are. We're being charged $20. It'll probably be free in a couple of years. So we're at the ground floor of this, just like we are at the ground floor of this new cycle. So we all need to get on board, as they say, get on board and start to learn. Those of us who are, in our 40s, 50s, and 60s, I'm a little bit more nervous. It's not that I'm concerned about any security. It's more like, am I asking it the wrong way? I would love to learn how that gets done with some surety. So I'm going to take a look at this training. Todd, do you have any final comments to help out? What else you kind of do with Apartment Investor Pro?
Yeah, yeah. Besides this, we do have a like a website platform, like so. That's kind of how we got started. What do a lot of people know us for is we help people get up and running with their website and CRM and other marketing tools. Again, try to take a lot of the work out of it, a lot of the time, by having a lot of stuff pre-built that works for most people as is. So we do that, and then we also have a program that helps to attract investors by leveraging other people's audiences. So instead of going after cold leads, you get get in front of warm audiences. So a couple other things we do. So apartmentinvestorpro.com is our main website and has links to the other programs. So
Okay. Well, there you go. It's in the chat. Okay. Apartmentinvestorpro.com.ai and then Investor Pro, apartmentinvestorpro.com for any of the other products out there. So anybody have any questions before we roll into our next set of breakout sessions? Any comments? All right.
Hey,
If
thanks, Todd. That's a great job on the AI. So.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for your participation too. I appreciate your time and questions and everything. That was awesome.
Todd, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you directly for help, how would they do that?
Let me just I'll put it in the chat. I'll put my email address in there. Okay. Yeah. Todd at apartmentinvestorpro.com.
Okay. Todd at apartmentinvestorpro.com. Todd at apartmentinvestorpro.com. Wow, I'm getting stuck there. All right. That's great. Thank you so much. And I don't know if you saw Nitsan's comments. His CEO is named Evan. I don't know why Evan. I like it. Just curious. And then Sasha is his executive assistant. When I think of this, I think of people sitting at a desk. You could call them up. It's not. It's somebody that's in the box, in the computer box. It is incredible. So thank you, Todd. I really appreciate you bringing some awareness. Not easy for those of us that are new to it, but appreciate it.